Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Documentary Club. I'm Jeff Jones, and with me, as always, is Jack. How you doing today, Jack? How's it going out there?
Doing very well. I'd like to welcome everyone to the premiere and this week's offering of Jailbreak Love on the Run. It's a relatively new documentary on Netflix that details a corrections guard that basically the go to gal that decides to make a major change in her ending of her career at this facility, this detention facility. And did she ever go out with a bang?
It was an inside job, too. It wasn't just a jailbreak, it was an inmate. The inmate, this love for, or I'm sorry, a correctional officer's love for an inmate, and she went where no one is supposed to go, where she was explicitly trained not to do this, right?
Yep.
Let's go through training today, training 101 and being a correctional officer. Do not make physical contact, do not make personal relationships, etc., etc., etc. And she
Sure.
broke
Yeah.
the number one.
Yeah, she did. These correctional guards they walk that fine line of trying not to be their enemy, but certainly can't be their friend. So it's that unbiased, helpful, but not too unfriendly person. It's a really difficult position to be in, I'm sure, a lot of times.
Well, and I think they bring up that part in the documentary about you want to treat people with respect and with humanity, no matter what they've done. They're still a person.
Yep.
And by treating them lower, you're lowering yourself. It's tough. But at the same time, you can't have a close relationship with an inmate. They
No.
because number one, what's the risk? They're going to use you and they're
Manipulate
going to
you.
throw you out when they're done with you.
Yep. That's right.
And
Sometimes
I know that I think this is an issue that, to be honest, when people say this is an issue that's not really seen or talked about much, this one exists almost in every prison. There's some sort of corruption in a prison, and we just seem to go, that's the way it is. That's just the way, you know, prisoners cannot get all this contraband
without
through
help.
their
Yep.
body, right? They're
Yep.
getting help from these correctional officers. It's
That's
happening. It
right.
has to be.
That's right. Short of somebody flying a drone overhead and dropping it in, which that's
Which
more of a new,
I'm sure that's
well,
happens.
yeah, I mean that's more of a new thing, but there's no way that a prisoner can get contraband into the prison without help from the inside. There's just no way.
I think it
Cell
speaks
phones,
to a larger issue, like you say. I really do.
it does.
That it's not just this episode, that it's happening. This is just or probably the most extreme examples of what's happening, right? But the temptation, we've talked about greed. We talked about greed at all levels, whether you're 4 years old or 44 or 84 years old. There's greed that sets in, and people try to scam. People try to use you. Prisoners want to use you. And I just think coming at it from looking at this documentary, I guess, is a little different because I remember, and you could pipe up on this too as well. I kind of watched this case unfold in real time. I remember almost everything. It captivated the nation for a hot minute. Let's just say that
About 2 weeks.
we were
Yep.
all glued to this one. I did follow it. So, what clip did you want to take a look at first?
Probably should play that intro to kind of explain who they are. There's Vicky White, which she is the kind of the number two go-to gal at this facility in Florence, Alabama.
All right, we'll play the intro.
This call is not private. This is a free call from
Tracy. Yeah.
Got it in the house.
Vicky White was a nurturer. She devoted her life to her job. She was always doing for somebody else.
But I think it's a really important part to talk about Vicky before this crime took place.
Yep.
And it's important for her friends and family to say, she was a really good person.
Yep.
And this may have happened, but it doesn't erase everything bad that she did. And we can use that same logic and apply it to how Vicky treated the inmates. Yeah, you did something bad, but
it
that doesn't
it
mean
wasn't.
that doesn't define all of who you are.
No, because it wasn't just about how she, wanted to help Casey. She helped a lot of prisoners, talked to them, gave them advice, a little extra food. She did all kinds of things on an ongoing basis. It wasn't necessarily just one time.
And when that caged bad girl was released, it knew no bounds.
Vicky White was bringing Casey to the courthouse for mental health evaluation. They didn't come to the courthouse.
I get a phone call that tells me that Vicky's missing.
And I was like, oh my God, he will kill her.
Deputies are searching for inmate Casey Cole White and Vicky White.
God, I love it. You love it. I love it.
Well, Jack, as far as a documentary goes, this one's shaping up to have just about everything that we look for. It's got a sexy crime. It's got I can't believe it. It's got, what other element? It's got audio recordings, tons and tons of voice recordings. We love those in documentaries, right? We love to hear, just like a jury, we love to hear the words out of their own mouths. And so this one, and plus some good cinematography, I'm liking the way it's building. So far, I like this documentary and how it's put, not only the content, but how it's being presented as well. I like it. Absolutely.
It's got all the elements. It's all the marks. Setting the stage. I don't know if you want to play at 303. This investigator talks about the detention center. Maybe a little set the stage of what this place is.
Florence Lauderdale County Detention Center. It is basically a temporary holding facility. You got people in there telling you they're going to kill you, throwing urine and feces on you.
It's not a happy place to be.
And these places are, Florence is not off in a bubble up like it's on its own. This is how it is in many detention centers around the country. You got from the most minor infractions, somebody has to come in and spend a day or two in jail, to capital murders, which, of course, Casey White had a capital murder charge on him that was coming up. 9/16, it goes back in time. It talks about Casey White being brought into the facility and what he was accused of.
In 2020, he's already serving 75 years for attempted murder, along with a lot of other felonies.
Casey White was an inmate of Limestone County Jail about 11 times in a 10-year period. Last time he was in my jail was from shooting at his girlfriend. Casey shot at his girlfriend and killed her dog. The neighbor next door said that Casey sticks a gun in his face, tells him that he needs his car keys. Apparently, Casey had pulled into the rest area and decided he wanted to switch cars. There was another guy there, and Casey stuck a gun in his face, said, "I need your car." And he wrecked.
Put the gun down, bro. Put the gun down.
Oh my God. I had to put my jaw back up after watching that.
Yep.
Good Lord. This is what this guy did?
Yep.
This is the guy that she's in love with, that she's willing to give it all up for?
Yep. And he's done other things in his past too. So this series of events wasn't the only one. There were others.
But this is the one that he's currently being held and charged with.
Oh, yeah.
What are you in for? I murdered these people and then stole a car and then shot that guy and then stole another car and then had a shootout with the police at the end. And can I have your phone number? Or what's your what?
Yeah.
How is this? This is what I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. Anyway.
Yep.
I don't think we'll ever understand it, but
no.
Wow. Just
no.
wow.
Well, I mean, all things considered as to, what this leads into. Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, you're doing what? And then
so they're pretty much like throughout this documentary having kind of splice in with their phone calls. Like they talk on the phone a lot in this documentary.
Gangsters down there. I need you looking at.
You're gonna get it one day.
Vicky would sit over at a computer exposing officers that were bringing in contraband. She took pride in it. You know,
she's the person who was calling everybody else out for breaking the rules.
Yeah, I remember watching another documentary recently, and one of these, I don't know, corrections officers, somebody, they were talking to the producer, and they said, "Well, what's one of the biggest problems?" "Well, prisoners bringing drugs into the facility." And I thought, you hypocrite, because prisoners can't bring it in. They don't have any means to do that. It's the guards doing it, dude.
It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
yes, there are some ways, but most of that stuff, like, it's all coming in because it's big money. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
I mean, you know that there are families out there that would pay hundreds of dollars to get a phone snuck in.
Yep.
To have contact with their fan. I just know it's just how it is.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Talk to you a little bit. My dad was not radio. Good time to pay.
I pay attention to everything.
Casey started buying love cards from the commissary, but it was no address, no stamps, just the mom's name in the middle.
You know, that's when I started to realize it had to be something other than that.
We have to remember that everybody's looking at everybody. And remember, Vicky was the one looking at everybody. So she's the one. So that does bring a little bit more attention to you. If you're the one who's been busting people, then they're going to be watching you really close too. People are watching Vicky close. And inmates are like, oh, I see how the envelope exchange here is working. I can see how this is brewing.
Yep. That's right.
So the next catalyst, major part of the documentary is at 2128.
April the 28th. Vicky says, "Here's my retirement paperwork. It's effective for the next day."
What?
And of course, everybody's like, "What in the heck?"
She didn't even give a 2-week notice. How unprofessional, Jack.
Yep, I'm done. Here's my retirement papers. I'm out. It's effective tomorrow.
That is a big FU.
Well, in a sense, it's like
he knows how integral and how important she is.
It tells me she's not really talking to him and saying, "Man, I really need some kind of conduit here." The supervisor plays a key role in most facilities. That's kind of what she was.
Did she seem like she was disgruntled? Because that seems like something that disgruntled would do.
Well, yeah, I mean, she did, but
if
with the way
you
she
are happy and you're just like, "It's my time is up," you put in a 2-week notice and you let it give people time to literally fill your shifts.
That's right.
That's and exactly this is a big FU in my eyes. So that's why I stopped it, because it's not just, oh, she put in her retirement papers and she only had the month to finish out. No, it's, I'm done tomorrow. Today's my last day. Here you go. What?
Well, it does indicate that there's another underlying story going on here that we don't really get. You kind of have to just talk about it because it's not really in the documentary, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that Vicky really communicated with the warden or whatever, the chief of the facility, about everything she was doing, and she was was past her breaking point, and she's like, "Screw it, I'm done. I'm out tomorrow. Thanks, bye."
And then all of a sudden, it just kind of snuck up on us, and I thought, how's this place going to function?
I was just shocked that she was that burned out.
Well, I'm flying on our adventure around the world on a sailboat.
I keep telling you, how else change subject? Nobody knows nothing unless you say something.
Yeah.
I told you, just be quiet.
Yeah, keep your damn mouth shut.
Don't talk about that.
Right.
Sailing around the world on a sailboat. So I guess that is what the plan was. It wasn't that clear to me what their plan was, their end, and that was the plan. I guess they didn't get very far into their plan, and I guess it's starting to come into focus a little bit more. But I guess I was gonna wait till later, but you might as well address it now. So she retired. So obviously, she didn't need to do that.
No.
You know what I mean? She could have just, I escaped with the prisoner one day. I didn't need to dramatically, I'm out of here, like make a big stunt of it and then disappear with the inmate. It doesn't matter. Like, you wanted to get your free cake from the retirement party. Like, what? It's not offering you anything. It's not doing anything other than splash, other than drama, other than, in your face. You didn't see this coming. I pulled one on you. You know what I mean? What else?
Well,
how else are you going to take that?
It's coining a term that, you've used, or we both have, spiking the ball, which she did. She spiked the ball right in their lap, and it was unnecessary. I don't know why she did it that way.
Friday was like every other normal day. Some of the command staff was out of town at the time, so we were going to be shorthanded.
They had a total of 5 correctional officers working.
That's not smart. I mean, to me, it's not. 5 guards for, roughly 300 people. You're putting those people at real risk.
That was Vicky's last day. Everybody hugged, the whole retirement thing. During the retirement party, Vicky seemed a little bit like she wasn't fully there.
She was looking down at a sheet of paper she had there. Really wouldn't want to look at me that much.
Let me see your hand. Open your hand up. And that's when she gave me her breast. Vicky, don't leave. I still got a lot to learn.
And Vicky had stopped me and said that she would radio when she needed one of the inmates, Casey, to be brought up to booking and shackled. We just went and got him out of the cell, cuffed him to the bench, and left him just like she had asked.
I tried calling her, and she didn't answer.
She brought him to the courthouse this morning for an evaluation, and they hadn't been seen since. So we put out a bolo, which is be on the lookout.
They're out.
Right.
We don't know anything at this point.
Nope, knew nothing. I'm guessing the thinking was he overpowered her, and now he's got her held at gunpoint. This guy's a dangerous individual. He really is. He's a big, dangerous guy.
We have to let it develop, and we have to see what's going on. They start searching for him. The patrol car is actually found not that long after, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I immediately had a team of deputies go to Vicky's residence. Upon talking with Vicky's mother, we learned that Vicky had actually been living there with her mom and dad. They were just in shock. They weren't in on this. Vicky's driver's license, her credit card, everything is right there in her purse. And I seen then that Vicky had a lot of money that was in her checking account.
So it's starting to unfold here. We've got storage unit. We got money.
Yeah, the wheels are coming off the wagon now, I bet. And we're gonna find out more about Vicky's activities leading up to this date, which were actually quite shocking. By day 4, they're interrogating the inmates that were around Casey in his cell block.
They do splice in inmate interviews, and so this is one of those brief interviews.
Yeah. So I had an investigator ask me if I knew something. If I would have told you, would you have believed me? It was a bomb that blew up in their face, and they didn't know how to get the stuff out of their eyes to really see what was going on.
As I'm interviewing inmates, one discloses to me Vicky's walking down the hall. Casey tells Vicky, "You've got a nice ass." From all accounts, she was flattered by that.
Protocol is to say you keep your comments to yourself.
Yeah, shut your mouth. Don't talk to me that way.
Number 45732.
Yeah, don't talk to me that way. That's exactly right, but that's not what happened at all.
It is okay to treat someone with humanity, but that crosses the line. And like you said, she knew what she was doing was wrong to not rebuff him.
Yeah, I agree. Another clip coming up at 43:51. This is a call between Vicky and Casey, and there's some other things revealed. That went on between Vicky and Casey.
I want to real quick with you.
Oh my God.
There was some phone sex.
I'm a player's free there and then rocking.
Such a bad boy.
As I continued to interview inmates, Vicky would take those inmates and tell them that it was yard time.
Casey was telling us that he couldn't go out to the yard.
Okay, Casey. Casey got a phone call. You're going outside.
Inmates aren't stupid, dude.
No.
They see what's going on. Yeah, you calling your lawyer. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. The red flags were there if you knew how to look for them.
But her being second in command, nobody was looking but her.
Their phone relations was a little much for me, but anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah. 4712, it gets into Vicky's younger life. She was married pretty young. I guess that was a real love for her. But then drugs got involved, and she left him. They divorced. She had a really close relationship. I don't think they were married, but I guess more of a fiance. He got killed. That was the number 2.
Oh, right.
And then so it talks about that.
So maybe she felt like life had kicked her around a little bit, and it was time for her to
kick back. Yeah.
Vicky was in charge of unclaimed inmate property. Things that she was looking at was white males, over 6'5", and she was looking at white females around her age.
Asking me for fake identifications, but that was because she was going to go to Mexico.
Whoa. That needs to be drilled down a little bit, because you can't just... Hey, can you give me a fake ID when I go to Mexico? Oh, yeah, sure. Jack, let me go get you a fake ID for when you take your trip to Mexico. That makes a lot of sense.
Well,
it makes zero sense. Well, you want to get arrested in Mexico?
Because you're talking about getting a passport, and that's not... You don't just go down to, post office and pick that up. That's
that's another red flag. Sorry.
That's a process there that is pretty tightly done. So I agree.
Oh, the next one, 5126. She's getting rid of everything. She's selling off her house.
Vicky put her house on the market. That's when I started saying, something's all right.
Vicky's home sells at auction for approximately $95,500.
It was concerning because she was getting rid of everything.
She got everything in order. She's
selling everything off. And people are like, what the hell? Aren't you going to need this? Like, this is kind of what people do. Sometimes I've heard when people plan to commit.
I think the other side of that, though, is that some people, when they get ready to retire, or they want to move, they want to get away. I want to move to Florida. I'm going to move to wherever, be in the woods. So I'm going to get rid of my stuff. I'm going to buy what I need to survive or live out here. And it does happen, but I won't say I'm like you, and I'm more like, okay, what the hell are you doing? You're getting rid of all your shit. You're just going to give it away. She got basically half price for her house. I mean, it was valued at 200 plus thousand. And she sells it at auction for 95. Come on.
But I guess here's my point with all of that. She's in a hurry to sell. I'm retiring and I'm out, and sold her house for less. Like, she could have waited. What's 2 months? I guess he's going to be moved. Maybe that's what the clock was.
Well, this trial was coming. He did have a clock on him.
So he had they had to make their move soon before his trial got. Before they moved him because of trial, whether before trial or after trial, whatever, like they needed to act. So I guess that makes sense. So she's kind of in a hurry to.
I'm just assuming that he would have been moved to a different facility for trial.
Because after that, she's not in control anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So she found her guy to do it with. She's got the money, and then I just don't think that she had that big plan. But anyway.
No. I think there's somewhat of a plan, but it was loose. And unfortunately, I think Casey took some of the lead on that, and that was a big mistake.
One of the clips is day 5 of the manhunt. There's a $10,000 reward. Dog the Bounty Hunter, who's a famous, or, kind of was more in the past, a famous, criminal bounty hunter, and that's kind of interesting. And then tips start coming in about her car.
Yeah, because she went and bought this burnt orange Ford, stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, God Almighty!
You don't want to buy an easy stick out colored car if you're on the
bland.
Right. And then there's a clip talks about people coming into the jail on drugs.
70 to 80% of the people that they intake are on drugs. This one person, I don't know how they got it in, they missed it. And so they do this meth, and he gets paranoid. And it really pisses off Vicky. I mean, because it plays a phone call too.
Not sober, very scary individual. Casey got paranoid. He jumps up screaming, I'm a 6'9", 300-pound country boy.
He said that he already had 75 years. He didn't care about killing somebody in there.
Vicky would get upset when she knew that Casey would get high.
Every time you get high, we go through this, the same thing.
We can't say that she didn't know about this drug use. We can't say that she didn't know that he had this problem. She knew what she was getting into. What is wrong with Vicky's head at this point, Jack? What's going on?
I think she loved him. I think
the power of love.
I guess because he complimented her, he seemed to be right, wrong, or indifferent, however we want to look at this, but he seemed to be in love with her because of her nature. She wanted to help people. I don't know. There just seemed to be a real connection, and she was willing to overlook and thought maybe she could change him. There's always that aspect. We see it
every time you get high. We have this problem, but I'm still
right.
willing. I don't know. All right, Jack, it's on you to pick the next clip.
I think this is definitely a dry run. You might want to sneak that one in.
This is not the first time Vicky had taken Casey out of the jail 3 days before D-Day. Vicky tells one of her employees, get Casey White out of the cell.
If she asked you to do something, you're going to go do it.
They're gone for approximately 9 minutes and 35 seconds. As she pulls into the Sally Port, she sees a patrol car sitting there. She knows that if she walks in with Casey in that booking area, the deputies are going to know that she's violating the policy. She brings Casey in through a side door, avoiding booking altogether.
She'd already done it once. She'd done a dry run with them.
Well, she had, like I said, she had autonomy by not having, putting in her 2 weeks and somebody being a tag along on her daily things that she did so she could train them. I think that was intentional because she knew that they would.
Wow, this whole thing is shocking.
Yeah, this is the key one where things really come to a head. 107.
But we have to work quickly before they dispose of that vehicle.
And lo and behold, we saw a gray Cadillac backed in to one of these hotels in Evansville, Indiana.
We're pretty confident 150, 151's the rooms we got to contend with.
We learned that a pizza company had delivered to room 150. The delivery driver was able to identify both Casey and Vicky.
Caught by the pizza delivery driver.
Yep. That's right. Crazy.
I think it's the second time I've heard about the pizza delivery driver busting, or they found someone using their credit card because they ordered a pizza or something like that. Pizza, it foils all these plans, doesn't it? It foils plans.
Yeah.
It's so good you can't resist it. Like, just order a pizza, but it opens you up to all types of criticism here. And can you just imagine being like, we planned for all this, but then see, here's the thing. Obviously you didn't plan well enough, because if you did, you shouldn't be ordering. No one should see you, and no one should ever see you together.
Buy some groceries, peanut
One
butter.
One person
bread.
goes in, right?
Yep. That's right.
Probably him, because you can change his look more. Maybe you could change her look. I don't know, but she seems more identifiable. I guess he's like 6'5" or something, isn't he though?
He's a big man.
Yeah, so maybe she's better off.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, she planned all this. She did a dry run, but then she didn't really have a plan for after.
Not enough, no.
And
it should be said that we didn't really say it, but they changed cars multiple times.
They did.
Multiple times, but they were able to find that. At this point here, they're at this hotel. They found this gray Cadillac. Now they found out that, it's them. So they set up surveillance. It was Casey that decided they needed him to go.
Right.
And they immediately identified him. And then, of course, they leave the parking lot and they're followed. And they knew that they were being followed, and a chase ensues.
At that moment, one of the Evansville guys calls out, "Hey, there's a female coming out."
Casey and Vicky quickly realized that they were being followed and the chase was on.
Casey was cool, calm. He'd been in this rodeo before. Vicky was very nervous. She was looking around. Vicky somehow accidentally called 911.
Let's do it. Please take him out, Will. Please tell me if you're okay. Please, listen to me. Yeah,
Hey, as soon as I get you checked out, I'll go over and check on you, okay?
When they pulled her out, I wasn't sure what shape. She was still breathing. Most likely a head injury.
Good look, doctor.
My wife still alive? You what? Is my wife alive?
I hope she survives this. We don't wish any ill will on Vicky in terms of her health or her well-being.
Shortly after I identified her is when she passed away. As I get closer to Vicky's parents' house, I turn the lights and sirens off. Vicky's mother walks out, and she knew by the look on my face.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Really sad ending, but it gets worse.
It always gets worse with you, Jack. You always find a way to make it get even worse and turn the screws on us harder.
I'm the Billy Mays of getting worse. It's so tragic when you think about it. How much she gave. She basically gave herself to that job. Hey, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't be able to have fun. They should. They work hard. You get to freaking play hard. I'm a firm believer in that. But there's always that line. You got to draw in the sand and say, I can walk up to that line, but I can't go over it. And she did.
I do have to give them some kudos to, we have to go tell the family first. And
oh yeah,
God, that's the hardest part, I think, of ever being in that position.
Oh God. You just think about something in your life that sucks so bad and you put it against this. There's not many things that could be much worse as far as having to do a job. I can't think of anything.
It's revealed that Vicky White, because we heard a gunshot, and it really isn't explained, but at 1:17 it's explained.
Yes.
Sheriff Dave Wedding says Vicky shot herself after crashing the truck she was driving with escaped inmate Casey White.
It was so surreal sounding. Hearing the sirens, hearing the car crash. These were her final moments.
It was a very strange placement. It almost seemed more like a accidental.
I'd like to believe it was accidental, not an intentional suicide. But according to the reports, the gun went off after the crash.
She knew that they were caught. She was in trouble, serious trouble, and she would be heading into that facility or another one. It really wouldn't have mattered because everybody would have known. She's like, you know what? I'm done. I did what I did, and I can't go any further. That's just my opinion.
That's absolutely right. I do think it's possible it could have been an accident, the way that the recording kind of cuts out funny. And I think that's possible. I also don't know. So
yeah, I get it. I do.
And then we have a clip that basically says that anyway, Casey ends up back in maximum security prison where he belongs. And I haven't checked up on him, but I don't even think he's worth us checking up on him because I think he went to prison for the rest of his life. I think he's charred for what he did. And it's really a tragic tale how quickly this one just unfolded. And it's just so wild that he just goes back to prison.
Yep.
She loses her life and everything, and he just goes back to prison. Like, okay, I got a couple week vacation. I got a little banged up here, went for a car ride and flipped over, but made love to a woman for a couple weeks and then ended up back in prison where I was going to be anyway. So I got stories to tell.
I just did a quick Google search. It says White pleaded guilty to escape in exchange for prosecutor dropping a felony murder charge involving Vicky White's death. He also
So they were
agreed to
gonna
the
they were gonna charge him with the murder because
yep.
for whatever reason
Well, it's probably
they used
commission.
that as leverage. That was just leverage.
Sure. Commission about the escape, so they're probably able to tie a charge to that the death.
But they dropped the charges of the murder and he got so anyway, that's what happened to Casey White. The kind of guy you want to bring home to mom, Just a real down home kind of guy.
Down home country boy. He's a
you'd like to show him around the town square. He's a good man.
He's a good man, Mama.
Murdered a family of people.
Don't you worry. He shot a dog too, son bitch. But at the end of the day, and I don't say this lightly. I do think they cared about each other. I don't think that he was just using her. I just didn't get that. And if I did, I would say so. I think he genuinely cared about her.
That's fair enough from your point of view.
I do think he used her. I do think he used her. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all.
Well, I think well, maybe I said it earlier best. I can't remember exactly how I said it, but it was something like, I think he genuinely cared for her, but I also think even though he cared for her, he was also willing to use her, and she was ultimately more or less expendable to him. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Both things can be true. And in his mind, he did care for her, but he would have to, dump her if he had to. So
a means to an end.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I would go with that.
That is correct, sir.
Good documentary. I think overall they hit pretty much all the high points, and they did give some decent history for both, kind of giving that backstory, fill in the fabric. So I think they did a really good job in the documentary, even though it turned out so horrific for Vicky White. She seemed like a good person. They got pulled down into a path that, unlike you, I'm like, how? I mean, isn't there another kind of a bad boy you could find on the outside that you could, whatever, build a relationship with it? And I get it. She's been hurt several times in her life, desperately hurt. I don't know. Maybe that was part of the driver. I don't think we'll ever really know.
What is it? Because it's dangerous? Do you know what I mean? Is it because we could get caught and we could go to prison, and this is a big no-no and it's taboo, and that's what makes it more enticing?
That adrenaline,
fair enough.
Adrenaline junkie kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. If that's what you're going with, then I think that's okay. Yeah, maybe
probably give this one a I don't know, 8.5 on the scale of 10 as far as being good. I kind of have to knock it down for a couple of reasons, but I think overall it's a really good documentary. It's an hour and a half. I think it's a one-off. You can watch it pretty quickly, and
I like that.
Yeah, so
it's like there's a time and a place for series, documentaries, and singles. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
We need both. Both need to exist. I don't like just long series, and I don't like sometimes I want 3 episodes. Sometimes I want just 1. So I wanted to talk about next week. And so next week, we are going to be covering the documentary called Hell Camp Teen Nightmare. I really don't know much about this one, so I can't tease much, which is kind of exciting because if I saw this one, it didn't stick with me entirely, but it's got a lot of critical acclaim. There are so many nightmares that are wrapped up in what happens at these overnight summer camps with teenagers, and our parents, can parents be sure that their teenage or preteen kids aren't getting into adult behavior, right?
Yep.
And so I think that this documentary exposes a little bit of that and plays on that fear.
Now, like I told you before, I think I started watching this and fell asleep and never finished it. I don't think I got very far into
Well,
it.
it's not a good. That's not a good vote for Hell Camp so far. If you fell asleep through it,
Well, I think I just turned it on to have something to watch. It wasn't like
All right.
so it wasn't on purpose falling asleep, being dozy or not being interested. I think it was just one of those things. I was tired and out.
Well, it ended up on our list, and that's the one we're going to take care. We're going to look at next week. So join us for the live coming up, where we are still talking about Jailbreak, Love on the Run. But next week, after we finish our live, this will be the next one coming out. So you definitely want to get to Netflix and check out Hell Camp Teen Nightmare, and then we can talk about it in the next couple of weeks. Leave your comments in our videos. That really helps us drive the interactions. We love when you join us. We thank you so much for helping out. Consider joining the channel and helping it grow. Share on your social media. I can see that a lot of people are sharing the videos. I really appreciate that. That's one of the best ways to help us grow as well. And as always, this is Documentary Club. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jack.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.